Hello, my name is Bonnie Burke and I work for Workforce Resource. This presentation is called Budgeting and Financial Essentials. Losing a job is never easy. Even with an unemployment check, your weekly income will be reduced, not to mention the loss of health insurance and other benefits. Losing a job does not need to spell financial disaster. This presentation, as well as various other services that will be available to you through Workforce Resource, can help you maintain your financial health through this difficult time. There are four main things that I would hope that you can take away from this presentation. To begin with, I have some tools for you, and I'm hoping these tools will be able to help you track your spending. And then also, I have a tool that will help you understand the cost of a habit. Next, I'm going to show you some things on how to create a budget and the importance of creating a budget. We also will learn about your credit score and how to access your credit score. And last, we're going to talk about credit card debt. It is so easy to have numerous credit cards, yet it's even easier to have large credit card debt. And we'll talk about the cost of that debt. When talking about a budget, I feel it is very important to know, where is my money going? We may know what our income is, but at the end of the month, do we know where it went? So to start with, I'm going to encourage you to start a budget, a rough draft. The spreadsheet that I'm going to show you is an example. This is just a pretend example of a person's budget. I want you to look at the income and the expenses. Notice that the person's income also includes some interest. Maybe they have some CDs, maybe they have a savings account in the bank. It also includes some child support, and it also includes some other assistance, and that may be food share or food stamps. Also notice all of their expenses. Now, once again, this is just pretend examples that I put into this spreadsheet. And so at the end of the month, they were able to total up all of their expenses, and notice that their expenses were $2,965. However, notice that their income was $2,300. Ooh, there's a discrepancy there. Their expenses are higher than their income. When you are doing a true budget, your expenses and your income should balance to zero. So this person has $640 extra in expenses that they're not meeting that month. So I'm going to encourage you to look at this spreadsheet and say, what are some ways that they can cut their monthly expenses? When you're looking at their pretend budget, think about your own expenses. What are some ways that you can reduce your expenses? So an example might be, they still have to have a mortgage or rent, still have to pay an electric bill. They might be able to get that down a little bit. Their phone bill. I'm going to show you a slide and information how to get a free phone. So we're going to delete their phone expense. Their internet, $55 a month. Well, I know when I was job searching, my internet was one thing I did not want to have to disconnect. However, there are some resources out there that may help you get internet at a very reduced fee. So in this case, we are going to get rid of the $55 and replace that with a reduced fee of, I'll just add $10. Because once again, I truly believe that in job searching, unless you live right next to a library or the job center, it's very, very important to have the internet. So car payment, a $300 car payment. Wow, that's a lot. Maybe this person could trade in their car and get a less expensive car.
Not always easy to do, absolutely. But having a decent car is extremely important when we're out job searching. So we're going to pretend they're able to sell their car and reduce their car payments to, let's just give them $100 a month car payment. Okay, so that's going to be a big help, right? Car insurance and house insurance. When I lost my job, I had time to do some shopping around for insurances. Usually, it does not take that much time to do the shopping around, and I was very happy I did. I was able to save our family about $500 a year. We have really good driving records. We've not ever made a claim against our house insurance. So with that said, this person's going to shop around, and we're going to pretend they're able to save their car insurance by $50 a month. Pretty good, right? Let's just say they were able to save their house insurance to, let's say, $25 a month. That's pretty unrealistic maybe, but we'll just go with it for this example. Medical bills. If we don't have health insurance, or if we have health insurance with a high deductible, it is very easy to get a $200 monthly medical expense. So we're going to leave that one because our health is extremely important. How about gifts? For a couple of months until we can balance our budget, we're going to not buy gifts. How about entertainment? $50 a month, sad to say, it doesn't go very far at all. So until we balance our budget, we're going to cut that back to, let's just say, $25 a month. You have to have some fun, right? Food, $400 a month. That's probably on the low end if you have children and are married. I'm going to show you some resources today where you can save on that food budget. So let's take that $400 down to $200. Is it doable? It's going to take some work, yet it might be. So gas for our car, once again, we're going to talk about how to reduce that $200 a month. Thank goodness, right now, the price of gas is coming down. I certainly hope it stays that way, right? So we're going to be able to cut that back with a few tips that we're going to talk about. Clothing. If we have children, especially children that are going to school, that's pretty difficult to get that down. I'm going to show you a few tips there as well. For a couple of months at least, maybe we can have a zero budget for clothing until we're able to balance our budget. So we're going to have to wear what we have in our closet. Daycare. If we have children that are not in school, it's an extremely expensive expense. And so with childcare, we're going to look at maybe a few other options. Can we barter? Can we work a different shift where a family or friend can help us out with some of that childcare expenses? So we've reduced quite a few of our expenses. Let's look down to see how we're doing. Wow, we've made some changes, and those are pretty significant changes. Look at our expenses, $1,980. Our income is $2,325. We are $345 to the green, yet I know some of those may take a lot of extra work and time. Yet looking at just those items that we talked about, it doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen. So have a budget. The worksheet that you also have has a column with blanks. So I'm going to encourage you after today's presentation to fill in the blank. But fill in the blank with the expenses before the month starts. In a little bit, I'm going to have you watch a video from Dave Ramsey, and he's going to explain how to do that. So I'm hoping that writing all of your expenses down, writing all of your income down is going to help you look at how do I get my expenses and my income to be zero balance at the beginning or end of every month. While you're watching this video from Dave Ramsey, keep in mind, I'm not saying you have to go out and buy this book. He also teaches classes called Financial Peace University. You don't need to go to the classes either, yet it's just one tool that many people have found to be very helpful for them. His book is called The Total Money Makeover. I hope you enjoy his video, and we're going to talk about some of his tips.
Imagine you've just been promoted to the title of money manager for a company called You Incorporated. Your job is, of course, to manage the company's money. If you managed You Incorporated's money the way you manage your own money now, well, would you fire you? Don't answer that. You have to tell your money what to do, or it will leave you and go to someone else. A written budget for the month is your money goal. People who win at anything have written goals. Goals are what you are aiming at. Zig Ziglar says, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. Your money won't behave unless you tame it. Your budget is it's the whip in the chair that makes the money behave. You have to be intentional with it. You can't get your head, you can't operate with your head in the sand. You know, you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, so why do you spend your lifetime income of over $2 million without a plan? Well, there's too much month left at the end of your money. Well, it's because your budget doesn't exist or it isn't working. A study of Harvard graduates found that after 2 years, 3% who had written goals achieved more financially than the other 97% combined. You got to do it on paper on purpose before the month begins. Your budget is a written goal for your money. You need to set up a budget every single month. Don't try to have the perfect budget from the perfect month from heaven, because you never get one of those. Spend every dollar on paper before the month begins. Give every dollar of your income a name before the month begins. This is called zero-based budgeting. Income minus outgo equals exactly zero every month. Look at this month's income, at this month's bills, savings, and debts, and match them up until you've given every income dollar an outgo name. If you have irregular income because you're in sales or you own your own business or something like that, well, we have a planning sheet for you in the Total Money Makeover workbook. And if you get paid on commission, you're self-employed, all that kind of stuff, it works for every bit of that. It's called the Irregular Income Planning Sheet. You still must do a written budget before the month begins. No one gets out. You got to manage money for You Incorporated. If you're married, you and your spouse need to agree on it, and well, sometimes that's the hardest part. If you aren't working together, it's almost impossible to win. If something comes up in the middle of the month that causes the budget to need changing, call an emergency budget committee meeting. You Incorporated, we're going to have a meeting. Talk it through, adjust what needs to adjust. The Wall Street Journal reports that more than 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So you got to break the cycle, change your family tree, live on less than you make, save for rainy days, live like no one else so later you can live like no one else.
What did Mr. Ramsey say? He says to do a budget every month before the month begins. Assign an item to dollar expenses before the month begins. So income minus outgo or expenses should be zero. Remember that tip? Give every income dollar a name and give every expense a name as well. Your budget is your written goal. We all need to have goals, and this goal will help us with financial success. I love this quote that he mentioned, and I felt it was worth mentioning here again. This is from Zig Ziglar. He says, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. So without a budget, our financial lives can be pretty chaotic. And so if we have a goal of setting that we are going to save X amount of dollars, if we have a goal that we're going to reduce our food expenses, put it in writing. Your budget is your written goal. What can I do to meet my monthly expenses? Remember some of the changes we made on that spreadsheet? Well, here's a few more tips for you. Every single time you go to the grocery store or stop at a convenience store when you get gas, keep track of all of your food receipts and even your non-food receipts, such as your laundry soap or dish soap. I have 4 pets in my house. Right, my house is a furry mess. However, the money every month that I spend in dog food, cat food, and cat litter, once I started tracking the receipts, I thought, no more pets. It was $65 a month. A lot of money, right? Yet without tracking those receipts, I would not have realized the overall monthly and then yearly expense. We all know this tip, right? Always use a grocery list. Look at the ads, those weekly ads that come in your mailbox, the ones that you typically throw away. Look at the food that's on sale for that week. Plan your meals from that meal plan, create that grocery list. If possible, you may have to shop at 2 different locations to save some money. Yet I caution you about not driving to 3, 4, 5 different locations. The cost of gas and the time may not even be worth it. I know this might not be springtime for you, but consider planting a garden. It may be just a couple of pots of tomatoes or lettuce. It's a fun family activity, yet it can have a small impact on your food budget. Other resources that can help is consider going to some food shelves. Almost every single community has a food shelf. If you're new to the area and you're not sure where yours is located, ask them at the job center. They should be able to give you some names and addresses. Another resource that I want to share with you, and this was really valuable for my family, and I know other friends as well have shopped at Ruby's Pantry. I'm going to encourage you to look at this website. Ruby's Pantry are food distribution locations that anyone can go to. It's not based off of your income. They're open to the general public. At Ruby's Pantry, you pay a small fee. It's typically $25, that may have changed, and you will get boxes of groceries. Now, some of the things in there may not always be things that you would normally use or buy. If not, pay it forward. Share it with a friend or a family member as well. So if you go to their website, the Ruby's Pantry website, you can do a search for where are their distribution locations at. So you can do their click further down, you can click on the food distribution downward arrow, click on locations, and you will be able to find one that's close to you. They have distribution locations throughout northwestern Wisconsin, and you will be able to see the specific date and times of their distribution. What else can you do to help meet those monthly expenses? Remember, I've talked earlier about getting a new quote for your car or house insurance. I encourage you to do that at a minimum of every 2 years. After I was unemployed, remember I said I did a search, was able to save our family about $500. Well, just recently, I did another search. Once again, I was able to save our family a couple $100 a year. $200 a year, I was really, really pleased with. So ask for quotes, do your homework. Another thing that we all have to have, especially when we're job searching, is phones. A phone that has good reception, a phone that has minutes that you can make those calls. So 2 of the resources that I want to talk with you today, one is called SafeLink and the other one is Access Wireless. Most job centers will have a brochure and will walk you through step by step how to access one of these phones. If not, check out these websites. It's a very helpful resource for families and it can save you a significant amount of money. Another option to reduce those monthly expenses that I learned from one of my students, she said there are carriers out there with reduced home internet access. I've not done a lot of research on this, however, I have started to, and I have seen resources on the internet that can give you internet access for $10, $15. Do some homework, look at what's available in your area. What else can you do? Can you reduce childcare cost by bartering service with a friend? If you have children, sometimes the cost of that daycare can be one barrier that can keep you from going to work. It's like, how can I afford my daycare? So if you have a trusted friend or family, Can you watch their children while they work, and they can watch your children while you work? Bartering is a win-win. Another tip that I want to share with you about childcare is you may qualify for childcare assistance if you are enrolled in the FSET or W-2 program. That's the Food Share Employment and Training Program, or Wisconsin Works. If you are enrolled in either of those programs, I encourage you to contact the Health and Human Services representative in your county. They may be able to help you with childcare expenses. Disconnect your cable. If you have children, this isn't going to be easy, but I'm going to tell you of some resources that's going to help. I bought an antenna for my house. It cost $65. I get 13 channels consistently for a $65 antenna. It works. The other piece that we did, we do have the internet, so I subscribe to Netflix, and a lot of my friends have done so as well. For less than $10 a month, I have thousands and thousands of options. Another option, if you have the internet, you can buy an Apple. A little Apple box costs $100. Well, with that $100, once again, you can have thousands and thousands of options of programs to watch, and many, many children options as well. So disconnecting your cable could save you on an average of $45 to $75 a month. Nice savings, right? Car expenses. Can you carpool? When you find your next job, I so encourage you, if you live in an area where there's not a bus, ask some of your coworkers where they live. It not only will save you money, it makes that ride to work much nicer. Every once in a while, I get to carpool. It makes my 30-minute drive seem like 10 minutes. I love it. If you're fortunate enough and you live in an area that has buses, look at that bus route. Can you take the bus? Can you ride a bike? Oh, I would love to be able to ride a bike to work. What a great way to start the day. You're going to get exercise and you're going to save some money. It doesn't work very well in Wisconsin winters, yet it's an option on those beautiful days. Track your receipts. When you go to the checkout and they ask you, would you like a receipt? Always say yes. With that receipt, now you're going to be able to take it home and write down where you're spending your money. Are you spending it on miscellaneous things? Are there tools in there you need? Is it makeup in there that you need? Where is all your money going? This is also going to help you track your entertainment expenses. If you go to a movie and buy some popcorn, write it down. Track all of your receipts, and at the end of the month, you're going to be able to see where your money is going. With that tool, you're going to be able to look at how can I save money. I'm going to give you a few tips on clothing. There are so many resources that are out there. I need to be honest with you. I don't even remember the last time I bought a new outfit. Maybe it was my daughter's wedding. So what works for me, I'm sure will work for you. I love shopping at my daughter's closet. I'm sure she's not going to want you coming to her closet. However, if you have a friend or family member that's about your same size, when they're tired of their clothes or if they want something they don't like, barter, swap. My favorite place to shop besides my daughter's closet is the Goodwill. Wow, their prices are a fraction of the store prices, especially if you can shop at a Goodwill that's in a larger city. I have a family member that lives in Woodbury, Minnesota, close to St. Paul. One of my favorite Goodwills. They have very, very nice clothes there. If you are enrolled in any of Workforce Resources programs, I'm going to encourage you to ask your case manager if they have any vouchers for the Goodwill. The Goodwill has given Workforce Resource vouchers worth $25 that you can take to the store and buy clothing. Nice, nice resource. In the Eau Claire area, there's King's Closet, which is downtown. There's Hope Gospel Mission. In some of our other counties, there's the Indian Head Community Action Agency. Great resources. And don't forget the garage sales. Brand new clothing can be extremely expensive. Look at some of these other resources if you haven't done so already. After today's workshop, I'm going to encourage you to ask the people around you what has worked for them. I always am amazed by how many resources my students have. They have taught me so many different things. So if you have some tips that have saved your family money, I'm going to encourage you to share them with the students who are with you today after this presentation. How else can you meet your monthly expenses? This is not an easy thing to do, but I wanted to give you this example. You may, for a short period of time, need to find a second job. Maybe you cannot get those expenses down and your income is not meeting those expenses. I'm going to give you an example. I loved waitressing. For the one reason is every single day I worked, I got to bring tips home in my pocket. So you could do a part-time job waitressing, or you could work in a grocery store, or you could start a lawn mowing service. For an example, if you make an extra $75 a week, you will have $300 each month. It's not easy, but $300 extra a month may really help your family. How about our habits? Remember I said to track your expenses? Well, this worksheet, I really had some fun with it. When I first found this, it was such an eye-opener. Because as you already know, you may or may not, I should say, I'm addicted to ice cream. So my favorite stopping place on my way home is the Dairy Queen. And do you know how much an ice cream cone dipped in chocolate costs? So for an example, in this spreadsheet, if you drank one pop or soda a day and you went out for a sandwich, $5 for lunch, $1.50 for pop. Doesn't sound like that much, right? So if you were spending on an average of $6.50 a day for lunch, and you did that 5 days a week, you would be spending about $32 a week. Really? That's a lot of money, $32 a week. Well, let's take that now and see how much that you were spending every year. So with this spreadsheet, I took the $32.50 and I times it by 52 weeks a year. $1,690 every year. Now granted, we all need some lunch. I hardly ever miss mine. So even if I could reduce that cost in half, I could save myself maybe $800 a year. He's thinking, well, okay, it's a lot of money, but I need to eat. It's easier, I don't have to wash the dishes, it's nice to get out of the office. Well, $1,600 a year, do the math. Over the course of 5 years, you've now just spent $8,450. What can you do with that money? I could use that to buy a car. I could use that to help my kids' college tuition or really pay off some big debt. Over $8,000 over the course of 5 years. So how about you have a different habit? Let's say that you smoked. And I just have such empathy for anyone who does, because I cannot imagine the addiction itself. So we're going to take that information away, and let's just say it cost you $6.50 a day for a pack of cigarettes. And now you're going to take that times 7 days a week. The cost of that habit is over $45 a month, $45 a week, and $2,300 every year. However, over 5 years, it's cost you over $11,000. A lot of money. So maybe calculating the cost of your habit might help you change your habit, and it could also help you balance that budget. So hopefully this worksheet is a nice tool for you as well. So in your handout, you do have this worksheet. It doesn't have the fancy formulas, but take it home. Look at the cost of some of your habits. We all have habits. I think we all need those little habits sometimes, you know? I'm not going to have an ice cream cone every day. Maybe I will stop at McDonald's because they're much cheaper there. So look at your habit. Can you reduce it? Can you eliminate it? After analyzing your budget, the one piece that I'm going to really encourage you to do is start an emergency savings account. It's exactly what Dave Ramsey talks about as well. Anytime we have an emergency, our car breaks down, our furnace died, our child needs some extra medical work. That emergency, if we do not have money set aside in a savings, typically will get put on a credit card. With that, I wanted to share with you what that credit card bill could cost you. But just think of this. On an average, a car repair, it is $80 per hour for labor. On an average in our area, $80 an hour. How about if your water heater died? I did a little bit of research. On an average, a water heater costs $350 to $500. How about an unexpected dental bill? Well, I even have insurance, but my insurance only pays 50%. It is nothing to have a crown done and have a bill of about $500 to $600 after the insurance. So it is so common to have expenses like this that may be an emergency. And without having money in a savings account, typically we either charge it or charge it to a credit card. So look at what credit card debt can cost you. Pay off your highest interest account first is another tip. So if you have more than one credit card, what credit card are you paying the highest interest in? Look at this example. If you have $5,000 on your credit card, the average credit card interest is 18.9%. I could barely believe that when I was doing research, 18.9%. You may have a card that costs less, you may have a card that costs more. If you paid $100 a month on that card, that $5,000 debt will now cost you almost $10,000. It will cost you $4,911 just in interest. It's going to take you 8 years to pay it off. So you want to find out where I got those numbers from? From this really cool website. It's called money.cnn.com. So on that website, you can put in what is your debt, how much interest are you paying, and it's going to tell you how many years it's going to take you to pay it off, and it's also going to tell you how much interest that this debt is going to cost you. Another tip that I know is really hard for me is to use cash instead of credit. Every month, budget how much money you're going to spend in gas, in gifts, or groceries. Put that cash in an envelope. When the money is gone, evaluate, is the month over? And I hope it is, but if not, what type of adjustments do you have to make? Do you have to cut back someplace else? So using cash instead of credit, the discipline there is when it's gone, and you have to wait till the next month. Easier said than done when you have a family. Another tip is avoid ATM fees. It always kills me. Most ATM fees will say $2.50 to get my own money. So go to your own bank. There typically is no ATM machines. I know there's service stations in our area where there's no ATM fees. Do you know the balance of your checkbook? Wow, that oftentimes is not a skill that's taught in school. If you do not know how to balance your checkbook, I'm going to so encourage you to ask at your bank. The customer service people there are more than willing to schedule some time to meet with you to do that. Another tip that I want to share with you is knowing your credit score. To get your credit report is as easy as going to a website. However, remember, after one report, you may have to pay a fee, but that first report should be free. You should be able to print out one report each year for free. Your credit history can determine what loans that you might qualify for and also the interest rate that you might pay for that loan. So if you need a car and if you have an excellent credit score, you may get a really low interest rate. So an excellent score is between 781 to 850. A bad credit score is below 500 points. Go to this website, Know Your Credit Score. I want to talk briefly about financial counselors. Most of us were not brought up by parents who taught us how to budget, who taught us the importance of having a savings account. So if you're struggling financially and you need some resources, once again, check with where you're doing your banking. I know that Wisconsin Credit Union and Royal Credit Union, just to mention two banks in our area, they both offer financial counseling for free for their customers. Another tip to look at is loan consolidation. If you have a car loan, student loan debt, loans for furniture, look at consolidating them to having one monthly payment instead of 3. Another tip is, especially if you have just recently lost a job or you're in between jobs, call your creditors. That was maybe the second call I made after I'd lost my job. I was so pleased that many of my creditors were able to work with me. One said, how about you just pay the interest until you find a next job? A couple of them also said, how about you skip 2 months payments now and you add it to the end of the loan. By that time, you may have found a job. So call the creditors. They can be very helpful. Another tip is with student loans. Yikes. Student loans can never, ever be forgiven. So if you have to file bankruptcy, you still will have that student loan debt. Call the loan officer and ask, especially during a very hard period in your life, ask for a deferment. Talk to them. They may be able to help you reduce your payments. So I want to review just a few things from today's webinar about budgeting. Did you learn anything new? What one tip do you want to try for the next month? Jot it down. I so encourage you to jot it down. If you have family or friends, go home and talk about it. Write down at least one tip that you are going to try to implement.
I hope the information from this presentation gave you some good ideas on how to meet your monthly financial expenses and also to help maintain your credit score. Not too long ago, I lost my job. I remember the stress and the worry over my reduced income. The best advice I received during this time was to notify my creditors, give them a call. I explained my situation, I asked for assistance, and I received it. My second best advice during that time was when someone told me about Workforce Resource. I was so excited to learn that I was a dislocated worker and I qualified for services. Workforce Resource provides numerous services that can assist you in finding not only reemployment, but reemployment into a position that is in demand and rewarding. Thank you so much for attending this presentation and have a great day.